Welcome to the first edition of the CCAA's webinar series, Media, Technology, and Sport, Building a Brand, presented by SportsCanadaTV. My name is Ryan Waters. Thanks for joining us. I'm the media coordinator of the PACWEST out here in British Columbia, and I hope you are all staying healthy and safe and keeping your distance. We certainly are with this webinar series. Our hope with these discussions, asking the experts to shed some light on some of the important issues and topics facing the CCAA and student athletes across our country, and of course today. And I think that we have a very interesting topic today with three very qualified panelists to discuss. Today we'll be taking a look at the rapid evolution of media and technology and how they enhance the branding of collegiate sport programs across the country. Today we have three panelists that are experts in this field, but with all different experiences and skill sets. Before we dive in and talk about the topic, let's meet our three guests, starting with Choyal Brown. Hi, Choyal. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Hi. I'm a former CCAA athlete. I played basketball at Capilano in the BCCA, now PACWEST. I consider myself a pioneer in live streaming sports in Canada. In 2009, we started streaming high school, college, and university sports. And around 2011, we created the first network for high school, college, and university sports in Canada. Over the last decade, we've probably provided over half the CCAA members with different types of streaming solutions, everything from streaming platform, equipment sales, rentals, and scoreboard systems and graphics. We've also produced dozens of conference and national championships over that time. Thanks for having me on the panel today.
No problem, Choyal. Thanks. And me being a BC guy, I've seen your work. Obviously, I've worked with you before, and to see the kind of stuff that you have done is pretty impressive. Our next guest is Casey Grams. Welcome, Casey. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me as well. My name is Casey Grams. I am with Hudl. I'm an account executive there. So I handle all of the CCAA as well as youth sports teams, and then some conferences in the U.S. So we are based in the U.S. I live in Lincoln, Nebraska. So not in Canada right now, but spend a lot of time there virtually. So I started out within sports as a athletic trainer or physiotherapist, depending on where you're at, and worked with a couple of Division I teams in the U.S. With South Florida, Pitt, and Creighton. And then I came to Hudl and started working with the colleges and universities on the West Coast as well as in Canada. So if you're not familiar with Hudl, we are a sports software company. We specialize in film analysis, but really looking at bringing a holistic approach to video, auto capture, live streaming, uploading, recruiting, and branding. And we will do that throughout colleges, universities, high school clubs, and different sport organizations all across the world.
I've had a chance to use Hudl before. It's very easy, very user-friendly, and it is a great program to use. I've used extensively for football. So, Casey, nice to meet you. Thanks for joining us. Our third panelist, Jamin Heller from Lethbridge. Jamin, tell us a little bit about yourself and your position.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ryan. It's great to be here, and thanks for the invite to be part of this exciting panel. I'm Jamin Heller. I'm located out here in windy and snowy Lethbridge, Alberta. I'm with the Lethbridge College Kodiaks. I've been with them for the last 5 years, and I have a bit of an interesting role. I manage not only the social media accounts for our entire college, so on the institutional level, but 50% of my job is that. 50% is also doing the marketing, social media, SID, website for the Kodiaks, and we're proud members of the ACAC. I think I have the best job in the world. I literally spend 8 hours a day on my phone or in Photoshop making content. So it's pretty fantastic. I'm a former student athlete. I played 5 years down at Minot State for the Beavers in baseball, NCAA Division II. And obviously, as a member of the Kodiaks, we're proud members of the CCAA and been lucky enough to cover our teams at 4 different national championships over the last 3 years. So I just love the experience the CCAA provides our student athletes and the exposure it provides. And it's great to be here to share some insights.
All right, Jamin, Casey, Choyal, thanks guys for being here and spending some time as we discuss what I think a lot of people feel our industry and this part of our industry is the fun topic. Not everybody gets a chance to do what we do, and Jamin spends 8 hours on his phone. Not all of us get a chance to do that. So thanks so much for tuning in as well, wherever you may be sitting and watching from. If you're new to the CCAA, we, along with the member institutions, compete for relevancy against really a plethora of other athletic options in Canada and for Casey in the United States. Of course, we have professional sports, other national, international, collegiate associations, national and provincial sports organizations, even local clubs are vying for the all-important eyeball, the audience. How do we get the audience to keep them interested and we as an organization stand out in a crowd? So let's dive right in and talk about the idea of accessibility with our guests. There are many factors that can affect a varsity sport program ability to incorporate media and technology into their branding. Money, finances, always a major factor and a blockage when it comes to this kind of stuff. And new technology can be scary. Let's face it, it can be intimidating if institutions don't have the people to support within their departments to implement the new media. So how do you get around the money? How do you get around the new technology if you simply don't know? Casey, I'll start with you. What do you think? How does teams, organizations, institutions get around those factors?
Yeah, great question. So I think with a lot of schools that I've worked with in the past, as well as this year, Jamin made a really good point that a lot of the staff has a lot of responsibility. They are one person and wear many different hats. So trying to take time to learn new systems, new workflows, managing different platforms and integrating that when you already don't have enough time in the day can really seem intimidating. So I think that fear of technology really comes through with feeling overwhelmed with all of the possibilities and where to even start with. So sometimes it just might be easier not to start. So when I have seen staff be really successful at taking on technology, I think it's when they really recognize that tech is something to lean into for the long-term haul. So investing yourself, your energy, and learning something new to be able to incorporate that can really save you so much time and money and just make you more efficient and keep advancing yourself throughout the conference and give you a leg up whenever you're trying to compete for time and attention whenever everyone has all of these possibilities. So I think the key to this is really looking into consolidating your resources where you can get a full stack of options under one system to fulfill those needs. So specifically at Hudl, we really look to ease that concern by looking at the full circle of video capture, from capturing the film to creating content and then getting that to the end user and our coaches and athletes and consumers, and making that more of a seamless process with a full circle instead of it being a square and having a lot of different outlets and different areas to kind of get lost, and making that just a full circle easy process.
Yeah, leaning in, good quote there, and not shying away from it, because it's not really going away. And Choyal, you have been at so many institutions across the country with Sports Canada. How have you seen folks get around these concerns?
I think you hit it on the head with the two biggest challenges. One is the cost, and one's the lack of knowledge. Like in terms of live streaming, there's a huge range of athletic departments in the CCAA. Like they mentioned, some are one-person departments doing the game day social media live stream, and other schools have the support of their entire broadcasting department with lots of access to equipment and crew. To be honest, one of the things I've noticed, the schools that struggle the most are the ones that reached out to their RT departments for support, because IT guys simply don't have a lot of expertise in webcasting. These departments get steered in the wrong direction, not understanding that there's much more efficient and cost-effective solutions out there. Another challenge is that technology changes so fast. I usually recommend to schools that they spend as little as possible on their equipment, which is bizarre, because it's going to be obsolete in 4 to 5 years. We've witnessed a few schools spend over $50,000 in equipment, and only to find they have the worst stream in the conference like 4 or 5 years later. I have an entire storage room full of old equipment that I've been selling during this COVID as an example of that. So it's definitely something that athletic departments should be aware of and budget accordingly.
Jamin, you would never call an IT guy, right? In Lethbridge, there's no chance you would do that.
No, we're pretty lucky. We have a very robust audiovisual team that handles a lot of our game day setup and whatnot, and troubleshooting, and they're constantly innovating and looking for different ways we can do it with the staff and the resources we have available. Really, from a social media perspective on this one, I mean, yeah, it obviously can be intimidating if you're speaking to 3,000 plus people on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook and trying to keep up with those trends. And I mean, it's not so much the cost of social media. It really is the knowledge and familiarity with each platform, right? And it's hard to do it if you're just having someone do it from the side of their desk. So what I say is, social media, there's low barriers to entry because everyone has an account. Everyone knows how to post their own personal stuff. But it does take a bit of expertise and just practice and a bit of knowledge to truly use social media in a way that can leverage and amplify your brand. And a lot of it is just giving the people that you task running your social media accounts the time and the tools they need to experiment, practice, and grow. One of the first things I did, some tips, when I first kind of started doing this, I made an account that I would just look at that only followed every professional sports team account, every college account in the States, in Canada, so I could see what our competitors were doing, what schools that I was striving to be like were doing in the States, and then working with Photoshop and InDesign. And usually most schools do have access to an Adobe subscription. So those are usually tools that are already paid for at your institution. Practicing Photoshop, the best way is to just go find a template from an account you like and try to make it in Photoshop. And also at your post-secondary institutions, you have a lot of resources available for people willing to help, right? At ours, we have a marketing department. We have a communications department that have helped me craft the right templates for putting out press releases. We have audio visual, like I mentioned. They really helped me learn my way around a video camera. So there's lots of tools, and you don't necessarily, like Choyal said, you don't need the fanciest, most expensive setup. Social media, it's all about being engaging with the personality that you're showing through the voice and using a phone. I mean, it's as simple as that. Video, photos, you don't have to get super crazy with your setup.
And thanks, Jamin, for that. And like Casey alluded to, this is not going away. Social media is not going away, and the text is not going away. So to lean right in. So as a follow-up to the notion then of accessibility, we as users or fans have a huge number of choices when it comes to what information we consume and how we consume it. How can a varsity sports program identify and utilize, I guess, the best methods for connecting with their audience? And Jamin, I'm going to start with you. How have you guys fed that information to your fans in Lethbridge?
Yeah, I mean, in the social media world, there's a ton of options, right? You have Facebook, you have Twitter, Instagram. I was just in a conference today. It's all about TikTok, right? How can we use TikTok? What is TikTok? There's just so many options. There's so much information. And my biggest piece of advice that we've used here in Lethbridge is just trying not to bite off more than you can chew. Especially my role overseeing social media for the entire institution, I find that 1 or 2 accounts done really well, where you're able to focus on them daily and delivering content daily that's engaging, is a lot better than having 5 or 6 different accounts where you're not really posting on them all that much, because simply put, no one has that much time, right? Social media is my full-time job, and if I'm lucky, I can do a Facebook, Twitter, Instagram story, and that's pretty good for a day, right? A lot of schools may have communication surveys that you may want to ask your communication departments about. We did one last year And it was really interesting to see the trends that our students follow. 70% are using Snapchat and opening it 7 times plus a day. So obviously, to me, that means we have to start looking at a Snapchat account. Instagram, even if you just ask your athletes, is going to be at the top. And definitely understanding each platform and the audience that it's reaching, right? We're gonna put more student athlete centric content on Instagram because that's kind of our primary audience there. The Facebook may be more community alumni focused, right? So we're gonna put out different content that's kind of appealing to them on Facebook. So that's kind of how we've approached it here in Lethbridge.
Troy, what have you seen in your travels across the country with Sports Canada TV as far as fans getting that information and the institutions getting that information out?
Well, choosing the right tools for live streaming can be tough, even for us, and we do this full time because we produce over 1,000 games a year, well, in non-COVID years. We've developed expertise with almost every type of equipment in the market, and I like in all my travels across the country, I haven't seen one CCAA or U Sports school that uses something that we're not familiar with. And on top of that, every year we go to Vegas to the biggest broadcasting convention to make sure we stay on top of all the latest tech. So we try and try everything out and kind of make the mistakes before the schools do. And anytime we come across a piece of equipment that we think is excellent and a must-have, we contact the manufacturer and we ask if we can distribute them in Canada. Many of the CCA schools representatives have probably seen me at the CCA marketplace where I present those products. Basically our goal is to share the expertise that we gain and outfit every school at the lowest cost possible.
And Casey, I'm glad you have this different perspective being in the States with regards to getting that information out to people. So what's the strategy that you have seen, especially through your experience through Hudl?
Yeah, I think of whenever I hear this question, I really try and put myself in the consumer perspective. And I do this a lot whenever I speak with schools of what are they digesting? What are they consuming? So if I'm in the audience of the CCAA and I want to think through what does digestion look like for that consumer, where are they getting that info and like live streams and things like that? What are they consuming and how can I be involved in that without actually having to take any action? Because as we're kind of lazy these days. So the less we have to think about what we're doing and the more we get on social media, it's just more of an automatic process than us trying to go seek information out. So I think that really starts with engaging on platforms. Everyone kind of mentioned them, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and bringing that content to them. So Jamin really made some good points about if I'm seeing that Snapchat is relevant to my audience, then I need to go to them instead of trying to bring them to where I'm at. So through Hudl, we're really trying to ease the process to get that content out. So really focusing on one place to get your video, upload it, edit in that software, automatic highlights being pushed out, live streaming being pushed out directly from the platform to make everything very much an auto-generated type of system. So really using technology to do this is to be able to create that exposure more frequently, being able to track views. So where are people viewing my highlights and my live stream the most? Where are they engaged at? And seeing what content really catches to more viewers on a consistent basis. So kind of reiterating a lot of those things that Jamin had talked about what he's already doing.
We lost you there for a second, Casey, but those are some great points. And you make a great point of we are a little bit lazy now, and the easier it is to get information to the fans, certainly the better, especially when it's right there in the palm of their hand. So Now, guys, us in the biz understand that when you want to build your brand, technology and media is a must. It's a primary tool. Now, based on your experience in your field, and Joel, I'm going to start with you on this one, why is it important to incorporate media and technology in the Canadian collegiate sports programming scene?
I feel like at this point, like referring to live streaming, it's almost not even an option. It's pretty much expected. It's crazy to think about how hard it used to be to convince athletic directors to stream their games 10 years ago compared to things now. This year we pivoted a bit and we've started to push schools to stream on a YouTube-powered platform. We've done this for a number of reasons. One of the biggest is the fact that there's simply no platform in the world that has the exposure of YouTube. YouTube is the most accessible OTT network in the world, and it comes pre-installed on basically every new TV and device on the market. But as far as it's important, video is obviously one of the most important tools for coaches. But I'll let Casey speak to that.
Yeah, that's right, Casey. With Hudl, so important for coaches using your tech to break down plays, to strategize, that kind of thing. So, why would it be crucial, I guess, to incorporate media and tech as far as Hudl goes?
Yeah, that's what we do. That's what our goals are for sure. So when we look at branding from a Hudl perspective, we really look at what those consumers' automatic thoughts reflect to when they see Hudl. So we really ask ourselves, what makes them want to invest in us, stay with us, and communicate that out through all of our media and marketing and branding. So as a college and university, that branding is really important because it reflects what you want to get across and what you want your audience to see whenever they see your videos, your posts, your games, things like that. So I think that really starts in the technology world of speaking the language of your target audience. So reaching prospective students. This generation is always on their phones, I guess my generation, computers, and we're really addicted to communicating and consuming through technology. So in a sense of branding, that's where we need to be to reach prospective students, alumni, donors, and creating that culture that's interesting, exciting, it's cool, it's cutting edge, and it's in their language. So I think when you do this well, it really opens the door to create a better experience, which in turn, in a college perspective, it's really going to result in higher enrollment, donations, funding, engagement, all those things that are your end goal. So that's really where we're seeing our teams utilize media and technology to build that brand.
And Jamin, have you been doing some of these things that Casey and Joel have said, especially from a video standpoint? Because we as consumers, we want video. We don't want to read things anymore. We want to watch, we want to listen to things on the ground as part of the Kodiak's athletic program. Have you been able to do these kinds of things that both the other panelists are talking about?
Absolutely. We know that video is so huge, right? And it's just the most engaging way to develop content on social media. You see it time and time again. If you go into the metrics, if you're doing video, you're going to get more eyeballs, more engagement, and it's a great way to build your social media accounts and the following you get. Like you mentioned earlier, we need to fight for people's attention. There's so much content going on in sports and other areas of life, especially down south. And so we use video, not only the live streaming, of course, where we direct people to ACAC TV to watch our games live, but also we ensure that whoever's doing social media that day, you're taking some photos, but you're also just constantly filming, right? Because you never know when that moment's going to happen. Someone's going to hit a buzzer beater, or there's going to be a huge play. And then as soon as you take it, usually we just do it on our phones and you're pushing it out right away to Instagram story. And then you're pushing it right out to Twitter right after that. And it's just a good way to keep your fans engaged in general.
There are so many options though, right, guys? So many options for people to get information. But it seems like eventually technology will establish themselves or a piece as a leading platform. And we've talked about Facebook and Instagram and even Snapchat and Twitter. Kind of those are the big four for varsity teams and institutions. Some have started to dabble with video, and Choyal, you mentioned that it's an expectation now to have some sort of stream. And Casey, I'm going to throw this one at you first. How does a program differentiate themselves from other teams in their own conference or other teams across their own country or a couple of provinces or states beside each other? How do they stand above their competitors?
Yeah, so I think this definitely starts with that quality capture, like you said, to get any event that happens, to make sure you capture that and show what makes your institution special. So everyone has something unique that draws in their specific audience. So taking all these platforms and showing off what that is in a very concentrated, concise way. So I live in Lincoln, Nebraska. University of Nebraska is super top of mind here because of the branding that they do. So I'm sure even across Canada, you've heard of the Cornhuskers. So I think what differentiates themselves, even though they're using the same platforms as everyone else and the rest of the Big Ten, is their uniqueness, but also the consistency of their content. So making sure that stuff is always being churned out. They're creating habits for rapid release of content through these platforms, so it builds anticipation before game day. They get to know the players and the coaches on a personal level, and they always know where and how to access that video. And then even in Hudl, a lot of, especially in the high school world and club world, athletes are creating content on their own and being able to get that out and get themselves recruited that way. So I've had a lot of athletes in all walks of life in the airport and stuff like that just tell me, oh my God, my Hudl video got me recruited and I got to go to college and stuff like that. So I think just their own branding and making sure that they're unique, that just those small moments in sports are able to get out there as much and as fast as possible.
Choyal, what have you seen in your travels again across the country? Because you've been lucky enough to go from coast to coast with Sports Canada. What have you seen teams, conferences, and institutions do to really set themselves apart?
There's a few schools that do a really good job. About 5 or 6 years ago, we helped Champlain College stream their national championships, and the head of the broadcast department hung around us the whole time and took a bunch of notes. And that summer, they ordered all the same equipment that we had, and they've really just taken it to the next level. They have commentators for every game. I would say they do probably the top 3 in the country. But everything in live streaming is scalable. You can add cameras and mics. Schools can kind of really take it to the next level. But I would say the one thing that really kind of differentiates some schools from the others is having commentators, because they can kind of really connect to the audience.
You guys in Lethbridge, what have you done to really separate yourselves from the rest of the teams in the ACAC?
Yeah, we try to maintain a strategy where we're posting daily during the season. We're trying to make student athletes the star of our show, and really, we try to make it fun, right? Fun, but also also polished, I guess, at the same time. We definitely take the most pride in our Instagram account. We really do try to make it look like something that the look and feel that you're going to find on a professional account in the NHL, but also dial it back a bit. We don't need to be that professional standard. We just need to be fun, put a bit of personality into it. I'm competitive. I love to look at other accounts and take inspiration and make content that's our own. In terms of broadcasting, we try to innovate with, especially in collaboration with our digital communications and media program. We're very lucky at the college to have a program that's giving us 15 students 8 nights a year, putting on a full-scale production with multiple cameras, commentators, and then we also scale it up for anytime we host an ACAC championship event. We're doing live broadcasting on all games and media shows and all of that. And so we really just try to be creative and try new things. For Instagram, for example, I've done fun schedule reveals. So you're taking that time you have in summer to experiment with Photoshop, and we've done Pokemon themed schedule reveals, Netflix style schedule reveals. It just takes a bit of a plan, some creative thinking, some time to make templates, and really it's not all about the push messaging, but finding fun, engaging ways to do things and tell the stories of your student athletes.
Okay, so Jamin, I'm going to stick with you on this one. On the flip side of things, though, when you want to differentiate yourself, you want to be standing outside of the crowd. But is there benefits to collaborating with other institutions within the ACAC or across the CCAA? Is there a way where, yeah, your rival's on the floor, but collaboratively you want to get your message out and ultimately reach more people? So is there a benefit to that in your mind?
Oh, absolutely. It's something we've been trying to do, and we're very mindful of. In general, yeah, we're competitive on the court, and I always want to, be known as this one that's making the most creative content, and it's always a bit of a competition. But at the end of the day, we're all in it together. Anytime that our other schools are putting out high quality content and getting in the media, it's in everyone's best interest because it's our student athletes that are really benefiting, right? So one of the ways we've done this is that whenever we host an AC championship event, say men's volleyball last year, we put on, I think, a great show. We have a photographer uploading photos to Flickr every 15, 20 minutes, so that, we realize that some schools, have big staff and some may not be able to send someone down to cover their teams, or they may be following a different sport happening at the same time, right? So we're making sure they have access to photos, access to video. We have recaps written within 15 minutes after the end of the game, so that someone, if they're watching in Red Deer or Edmonton, they can just take and post our recap. We don't really care about the credit so much, but they'll have high quality photos that they can put out, that the kids can keep, that their fans can watch. And I think that's kind of one of the best ways we've really tried to promote that interconference friendliness.
Casey, how about you? Do you see benefits in collaborating? Do the Cornhuskers collaborate with other either local schools or schools in the same conference? Have you seen that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we tend to work with conferences, definitely from a coaching perspective, to exchange on that platform, and it turns into a lot of conference mandates. So everyone is on the same platform. So when we've seen conferences and different athletic departments mandate or have different teams using Hudl, it really allows consumers to get familiar with that platform. So when they're more likely to live in there as well and really stay and digest that content more frequently, since they don't have to try very hard to search out what they're looking for, and they tend to frequent those platforms more often, which is really what all teams want, regardless of the competition. So at Hudl, we've really seen a lot of conferences do department packages with us across all the schools in the conference. So they have that consolidated platform and getting quality content for every event, automatically uploading that video, editing in that software, and then being able to push it directly out once it's edited within Hudl, and then also able to live stream and invest in that complete solution throughout the media and film process. So that's really what we've seen teams do independently and differentiate themselves that way, but also as a conference work to collaborate. It's financially more beneficial for them, and from a consumer standpoint, more beneficial as well.
And Choyal, I would imagine you would echo what Casey just said about the collaboration of conferences and even schools within the same area when it comes to a provincial championship or a national championship, with costs always a factor. Working together, you can put on a bigger show, can you not?
Yeah, personally, I think each conference should be working together and creating a minimum set of standards for their broadcasts. It's all about the viewer expectations. All a viewer really wants is something shot well, even with one camera, with a scoreboard with a clock. And if you add the extras like commentary, great. It's also super important that the conference gets together and creates a unified platform where all the games are hosted. You just have to kind of make it as easy as possible for viewers to find games. And I think sometimes schools don't realize that you're actually streaming for the away team. Like in a non-COVID year when everybody can actually go to the games, your homeschool fans are going to the games, but they're tuning in to watch the away team. So all the schools need to kind of get together and do a good job for everybody.
So we all have to play nice in the sandbox is what you guys are saying, right? I mean, everybody should work together. We've heard that throughout COVID as well, working together. And I think that's so important. And guys, it's been a lot of fun listening to your thoughts and your opinions here. And unfortunately, we're out of time. We're going to close up shop here. So my thanks to Choyal and Casey and Jamin for your time today. I know you guys are all busy. Also want to say thanks to SportsCanadaTV for being the presenting sponsor of today's webinar. First one, we made it through, guys. Good job. Also to Sports Canada for providing the behind the scenes to make us all look a little bit prettier, especially in my case. Thank you, Sports Canada. And thanks, of course, to our viewers as well for appreciate you lending us your ears and your eyeballs here this afternoon. We hope you found this topic to be valuable, and we encourage you to work together and check out more editions of the CCAA webinar series. Once again, my name is Ryan Waters from the PACWEST. Stay healthy, and we will see you next time.